What's going on YouTube? Burlington Northern HO fan here, and today is the second part of the 500 subscriber special. We are going to run every single locomotive in my collection. This could go bad, so we'll see how this goes. I'm hoping that I'm not going to find any future projects trying to run every single one of my locomotives, but we'll see what happens. So again, thank you guys for 500 subscribers. As I said in the first video, this is the second part, so if you want to see them all in really good detail, go watch the first part. But this part, we're just going to be running them. I'm going to probably go through this really quickly because I don't want this video to be too long. Definitely not as long as the last video. I'm just going to let each locomotive run one lap around my layout, and we'll see how it goes. Hopefully they all run. We'll have to find out. Alright, so we're going to start with the DC locomotives first. So we're going to start with the locomotives that I only have one railroad of. And we're going to start with this Marx Monon Jeep. Right here. Right there. And power on. Oh. How wonderful. Looks like we have an issue already. Oh. Oh, okay. I got something. I think we got an issue with that one. That one will probably be a future project video. So, great start. Let's run to the next one. I'm going to leave the power on. Alright. Next up we have another Marx. We have this New Haven F unit. There we go. That one doesn't run that great either, but it runs better than the other one. There's that. Okay, so that's that one. Next up, we have the Revell switcher, which I have a feeling this one will also not run properly. Yep, that one does not run. We will go to our GP40. That one runs decent. First locomotive that actually runs decent. Probably bring that speed up a little bit. There's that one. Next up, we have the Proto 2000, or Proto 1000, I should say. Proto 1000 switcher. RDC. Still waiting on trying to figure out how I'm going to put a decoder in this, because I would like to put DCC sound in this RDC. So, trying to figure out what I want to decide to do with this one. But that's that one. Alright, now we're going to move on to our next one, which is our Lifelike Golf Mobile in Ohio. This one, I have no idea, but we will find out. Oh, look at that. Something's going on with that light bulb, but it does run. That I did not expect. So there's that. Now we have our Chicago Great Western F unit by Stewart Hobbies. This one I'm very proud of, so that one I know will run. We're going to do our steam locomotives last. So there's that. That one runs pretty good too. Okay, so now we will move on to locomotives that I have multiples of. Actually, no. I'm lying. I need these guys. I forgot about these ones. We have the short line railroad Jeep here. Again, I use this locomotive for parts, so I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't run that well. So, there's that one. Alright, now we have the Presidential Seal Tyco Spirit of 76 locomotive, which I know doesn't run, but I'm kind of scared of it. I don't really want to mess with it. Maybe in a future video, I will take it apart and I'll get it to run properly. But I don't want to leave that on the track. I don't want to burn that motor out, even if it's already burnt out. Next one, we have the other Spirit of 76 Tyco locomotive. This one was in a YouTube video, so I hope it still runs, but we will see. And there it is. It does still run. This one's a power torque. Actually runs halfway decent for a power torque. But there's that one. That one runs good. Thankfully, since I did have that in the YouTube video. Alright, next one we have the Australian looking unit. And that one's a bottle power, so it kind of runs pretty fast with that much power into the track. So, but that one does run. Now we have our two wheelie steam locomotives here. We'll run this one. Sorry about that. We'll run this one real quick. That one's still got a wobble to it. I do believe that was our wheelie one. The contacts on these locomotives are absolute trash. So that's why I'm seeing that light flicker. Here's our other one. No, that's our wobbler. That's our wheelie locomotive. That one still runs. So that's good. They both run. That's good. Alright, now we will move on to our locomotives that we have multiples of. So, first up, we have Illinois Central. Let's do Illinois Central. So, first up for Illinois Central, we have this GP40, Death Star Paint Scheme GP40. There we go. Still runs pretty good. Now we have the Rivarossi E-units, which I will run in tandem together. I'm going to turn the power off for that. Give me 1 second. So now we have those tandem E-units. And now they're running together. Pretty good. Alright, that's Illinois Central done. Now we move on to our next railroad, which is the Pennsylvania Railroad. Get these two Tyco F units on the track. These might run together, they might not. There we go. Not bad for a couple Tyco F units. Now we'll move on to the GG1s. First up is the Tyco GG1 that I mutilated. So we'll start with that one right here. This is a Tyco GG1 with an Athearn, or not Athearn, a AHM SD40-2 drive. So that one still runs. Weird, but it does run. Now we have our Penline GG1. Let me put this back. Let's run the Penline GG1. Turn that off. This one will probably derail because for some reason this one has derailing issues. Alright. There we go. It's already derailed. And it died. Probably because it derailed. But that one does run. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm probably going to mess with that a little later down the line with this locomotive. But right now it's not top priority. Next up we'll run the Santa Fe. We have our Santa Fe Tyco F unit right here. There we go. This one I did not do anything to, but I did kind of run it back and forth in that original Tyco unboxing video. And it still runs pretty good for something that's that old. It has some issues, but probably end up taking this apart eventually in some video and actually doing it properly. But that one does still run, which is nice. Next up we'll run our Model Power F unit. Which is this guy right here. Alright, and there's that guy. He's again pretty fast because he's a Model Power unit. Sorry, it's early in the morning and my nose is a little angry. But we'll make it through. So now that's the Model Power F unit. Now we have the Lifelike F unit, which is my first train set. As far as I know, this one still runs, but there we go. There's our Lifelike F unit. Still runs like a champ. Alright, after that we will run the Bachmann F40PH, which this one was also in a YouTube video. It's backwards. Must have put it in polarity backwards when I put it back together. There we go. I believe this one is missing its traction tires, unfortunately. But still runs, which is pretty nice. Alright, next up we have a Proto 2000 GP20. Okay, that's backwards. There we go. Proto 2000 runs great. Give it a little bit of a better camera angle there. So there's that one. Okay, and now we move on to our next locomotive, which is our Lifelike GP38. You see some of these are pretty dusty because I don't use them that much. This one has some issues as it doesn't look like it wants to run. But you can pretty much tell which locomotives I use more than others. So that one does not run that great. Alright, that is it for Santa Fe. We will wait for the DCC Santa Fe locomotive until we get to the DC part of the video. Right now we're going to run on the Union Pacific. So, we'll start with our lifelike F40PH. And again, this one has some issues. And I derailed it. But that one also has the same kind of issues. So, we'll go on to the next locomotive, which is another lifelike. It's a GP38 high hood. This one was in a YouTube video, so hopefully it still runs somewhat decent. Alright. If I actually railed it properly, it would. Well, that's nice. Okay, so all my lifelikes do not want to run properly. That's nice. So, that's mostly the reason why I don't want to keep them. Anyway, let's go on to the Model Power Union Pacific F unit. This one I know runs, hopefully. This is my legitimate first locomotive that I ever had. If I can re-rail it properly. Should get one of those fancy railers. There we go. That one runs pretty good. Finally, a locomotive that actually runs somewhat decent. Looks like it has some electrical contact issues. But as I said, you can tell which locomotives I use more than the others. So that one does not give me any issues. That's Union Pacific. The DD40 is in project status right now. We will move on to Southern Pacific. We'll start off with another old one, which probably won't run properly. We'll start off with this Varney switcher. And what do you know? The oldest locomotive that I most likely have in my collection, and it still runs just fine. It's very loud, though. So there is the Varney switcher. Now we'll move on to the Athearn Daylight Paint Scheme F unit, which is kind of a hodgepodge of a bunch of different F unit parts. Give it a little more power. This one's a little slow. That one runs great. It's an Athearn Blue Box. What do you expect? And there we go. That's that one. Now we'll move on to the Daylight PA and PB locomotives. These, one does not have couplers, the other one does. I scavenged couplers, so we'll just run the A unit. And it derailed. As I said before, I do not believe that this locomotive likes my track because its wheels are very worn. Yeah, see, it keeps derailing. So I believe we have an issue with the wheels not being the greatest on this one. Since that's the case, I will run the B unit by itself. So we'll do that real quickly here. There's the B unit. As you can see, the B unit made it just fine around that corner. As you see, the B unit runs just fine. So, there is some more work to be done with these Alcos, but I will eventually do it, hopefully. But right now, we'll move on to the next Southern Pacific locomotive, which is the Southern Pacific Baldwin switcher here. We'll start that one up real quickly. That one runs pretty good. It's an Athearn. So, and there's that one. We'll move on to our next one, which is the SD45 by Athearn. This is another one of those locomotives that was a hodgepodge of a bunch of different parts with a very bad weathering job. But she still runs pretty good, even though she's pretty beat up. But yeah, she runs pretty good. So, I believe that is Southern Pacific done. We will now move on to the locomotives that I am really obsessed with. We'll start with... let's do Milwaukee Road. We'll start with this U-boat right here. And as you can see, that one runs pretty good. Because we're starting to get into the locomotives that I actually do run a decent amount. So next up is the SD9. If it would reroute properly, that'd be nice. There we go. And there's that one. Now we'll move on to the next locomotive, which is a Trainmaster. Right there. And there's the Trainmaster. Runs pretty good. Next up we have the Milwaukee Road SD40-2, the fallen soldier that I dropped. So we'll put that on the track here nicely. Respect it, since I apparently did not respect it the last time. There we go. And now we will run that one. She still runs just fine, even though she did get dropped. So that's a props to Athearn there on that one. And there's that one. Okay, and then the last locomotive we have for the Milwaukee Road is the SW7, I believe. So we'll run that one real quick. There we go. And she also runs pretty good. There's that one. She has got broken handrails on the front though, unfortunately. But we will move on to our next railroad, which is Rock Island, which only has one diesel in it, but I do have a steamer, so, but I do like Rock Island. But this is a Alco FA. And there's that one. We'll move on to our next railroad, which is going to be Chicago Northwestern. We will start with the locomotives. Again, like I said before, we will do DC only locomotive first, and then we will do DCC locomotives, and then we will move to steamers. So starting off with the -9. There's that one. So now we will move on to a Kato Alco Sentry, I believe. And every locomotive from now on that you're going to see most likely will run, unless I say it doesn't. That's that one. So now we'll move on to our SD40-2, the Operation Lifesaver Paint Scheme Operation locomotive. As long as it's railed properly, because that's always fun. Coupler's hanging a little low on that one. But that one does run. So that's good. Now we'll move on to our Walters Train Line GP9. That one runs like a clock. Possibly a cracked gear, but I don't really care too much because it still runs just fine. Alright, now we're going to run our GP38 by Athearn Blue Box. And there's that. Now we run our Kato GP35. There's that one. Alright, now we will run our Chicago Northwestern 415, not 411, 415 F unit. Alright, and there's that. Next up, we will run the next railroad of locomotives, which is Burlington Northern. So we will start with this Bachmann B-class locomotive. I believe it's a B40. I could be wrong. It's a -7. It's either a C or it's a B locomotive. And that's that locomotive. Next up, we will run our beautiful custom painted E9M, which does need to be painted again. So we'll start with that. There we go. Give it some more power because these proto units are a little slow. Have a bit of a momentum in them. There's that. Alright, next up we will run our SW7 again by Proto 1000. Right here. This guy right here. Put him on the track real quick. This is a locomotive I would like to put DCC sound in, but don't know because it's very small. And there's that one. And now we will run our Athearn Blue Box Tiger Stripe GP50. Our Tiger Stripe GP50. Now we will move on to our Athearn Genesis GP50. Which this one I'm going to take more special care of because it's got more fragile pieces on it. Yeah, I seem to like the video of this locomotive, so I'm going to let it run a little slower. Because it does run great. I said I wasn't too happy with the first Athearn Genesis locomotive that I got, but this one I'm very happy with. So, this one I will plan on putting a decoder in and a speaker eventually when I have the time and I have the money. But it runs great and I love it. This is probably on the list of my favorite locomotives in the collection, actually. So, and here comes back into shot. And there's that. And then we will move on to our F45 right here, which is another locomotive I would like to put DCC sound in. Right there. Get that thing going. It's not a locomotive in my collection. It's up there for being one of my favorites. But now we move on to our two Rivarossi E units right here, which I will do the same thing with. One's a twin motor, one is not, but I know that they still run the same pace. So I'm going to set these up real quick. So there's our two Rivarossi E units on the track. We'll get them running real quick. And these units like speed, so we'll give them a little bit more speed. But they run pretty good. So there's that. And funnily enough, that's it for Burlington Northern because the rest are in DCC. And we haven't got to that part of the video yet. So, right now we're going to run the one railroad that I forgot to pick before Burlington Northern, which is kind of funny. We have the subsidiaries of Burlington Northern. We have the Burlington Route and the Great Northern. So, I'll run Burlington Route first. You may have also noticed that I chose not to run three of my Burlington DC Burlington locomotives. I did not run them because I know they do not run the the Cox F unit, the Alco by AHM, and the Lifelike GP38. All three of those I know do not run properly, so I am not going to bother showing them trying to run. But this Atlas SD38, however, runs just fine. A little loud, but it runs just fine. So there's that. And it's a SD35. I was wrong. It's not an SD38. And now we will move on to the GP20 by Tyco for the Burlington route. Here's our Tyco Burlington route. This is an old man 2 drive, MU2 drive. This one runs pretty good. Somewhat. So there's that. Now we'll move on to the Proto 2000 E-unit that I have. We'll run that quickly. Dare I say that this one runs better than the Burlington E-unit that I have for Proto 2000. It even has a Mars light. That's about half power and it runs just fine. Comes around back into shot here. And there it is right there. So now we'll move on to the final locomotive that is DC only. And that is the Great Northern F45 that I have right here. We'll run this guy real quick. It's missing its front handrails, unfortunately. They are around. I know where they are. I just have to put them back on and glue them. But I'm lazy. And there's that. Alright, so now we're going to move on to our steamers real quick, which that will require more, intuitive, stuff like that. So I'm going to put those on the track. I'm going to reset up the camera, and I'll be right back. Alright, we're going to set this up a little different for the steamers. We're not going to have them run a full lap. We're just going to have them run back and forth, just because this video is getting long, and I do not want it to be too long. So we'll start with the Rock Island steamer right here. And this one, something's going on with that switch. But this one runs just fine. This one's a model power right here. This one does smoke, but I have no smoking fluid, so... But there is that. That one runs. We'll move on to our next one here. Okay, next up we have the Consolidation Class Union Pacific Steamer by IHC and Bachmann. The tender's Bachmann. The locomotive is IHC. And this one is also another really nice smooth runner. As you can see. We'll back her up. But yeah, that one runs very, very nice and smooth. Alright, we'll move on to our next one. Alright, next up we have this River Rossi New York Central Hudson. And it's probably another one of my favorite locomotives in my collection, just because it's a very iconic model train. It's a New York Central Hudson. It's like the model train. So here we have this one, and we're going to run it. We're running backwards first. Now we're running forwards. And she runs just fine. Might do a video on this, going through it and actually cleaning it up and lubing it up. So look out for that maybe in the future. But this one, she's pretty good. Now we'll move on to our final steamer, which is the Milwaukee Road River Rossi steamer. Go grab that real quick. Now this one I have not run in a very long time, because me and this locomotive have a very love-hate relationship. Because, well, let's just say sometimes it runs and sometimes it doesn't. So we'll see what happens here. It's also a lot more of a pain to put on the track than the Hudson is, actually. That time it wasn't too bad. But here we'll see if it runs. And as I said before, it's a love-hate relationship with this locomotive right now. This locomotive does not run. So this locomotive will probably be in a future video when I hopefully maybe finally figure out why it some days works, some days doesn't. But Now we'll move on to our DCC locomotives. Surprisingly, this time I only missed one locomotive, and that is the fabled, infamous Aerotrain, which I custom put this body, this chassis in, this Bachmann F-unit chassis. But right now we have the Aerotrain on the track. This is probably my most prized possession, besides the Zephyr, which doesn't have a motor in it, so that one will not be in this video. But right now, we'll see if it runs. And there we go. She runs pretty good. So, with that, we'll move to the DCC locomotives, as I said. Alright, now, as you can hear, I have my DCC locomotives on the track. I'm going to do something crazy, and I'm going to do a parade of locomotives here. First up, we have the Elco RS3 by Bowser, the number 4082. And what we're going to end up doing is I'm going to bring this locomotive all the way around until we get to where the Santa Fe is sitting. And I'm going to do that with every single locomotive. Or what I could do is just take it off the track. I might just do that. So I'm going to take it off the track as it goes past. And then I'm going to reset the encoder. And that's that one done. Now we will move on to BN1. Might not be able to hear that horn, but here she comes. There's that one. Reset the track. Next up, we have the SD40-2s. We have 70, 36. And then we will have our next locomotive, which is another SD40-2, number 6333. Unfortunately, the speaker broke in this locomotive, so now it is just DCC silent. But that's okay. As long as it still runs, that's all I care about. It's coming in pretty slowly. It's another Blue Nami decoder, so I eventually will get a new decoder for it. And it's short-circuited. That's nice. Most likely because it was not railed properly. Yes, it was not railed properly. That's ruined my whole feng shui! Alright. Now we're back in action. Let's get this thing moving out of here. Oh! We just got sound back in this locomotive. I don't know how, but we did. Thought the speaker was broken. So that's the locomotive I need to do a little more work on. But right now, she runs pretty good because it's a scale trains locomotive. I hope it runs good. But now we move on to our SD60M by Walters, which is, we use the recall button here. We'll go to 9285, number 5, and there we go. She's got to start up, unfortunately, because of that short circuit. But we can see her sitting back there. Get her moving. There's our SD60M. Alright, so now we will move on to our next locomotive in line, which is the one that's been idling back there very loudly. The Athearn Genesis GP50, which is 3139. And I believe the speaker... No? I don't remember what the light button is on this one. Seven is dim. It's pretty fast. And now I killed it over the switch, which is fine. That's fine. I do want to get that light going. There we go. Now the light is going on top. Alright, that's 3139. That's all the Burlington Northern locomotives. So we move on to our BNSF locomotive, which is hiding behind that pile of trees. So that is number, what do we got? I believe it's 4926. We want 4926. Forwards, lights. This is a Cottle locomotive. It's about to come out around the bend there. This is a DCC silent locomotive. There's that locomotive. Put that one on the track right here. You'll probably still see it in shot. No, you won't. Next up is the last DCC sound locomotive I have in my collection. The number 7000. You can hear her start up. She's hiding behind the co-op. She'll be coming in the shot here soon. Here she comes. This is the first DCC sound locomotive that I ever bought. And that's that. We'll move on to our last two locomotives in the collection, which are number 1519, the Chicago Northwestern Jeep. That's 1511. I want 1519. Why are you doing this? Thank you. Comes number 1519. And then finally, for the last locomotive to run in the collection, we have number 611, Santa Fe -9 by Athearn Blue Box. And that is all of them. That's all the locomotives in my collection. If I find any that I didn't run, I will put them before the end of the outro of this video. But that's it. Well, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. This was a very, very long video. I didn't expect it to be this long. Next time I hit a milestone, I don't know if I'll do every single locomotive in my collection. I might just do the Burlington Northern locomotives for the next video, because this was a lot. But I'm glad, I hope you guys enjoyed it. This was every locomotive in my collection. You saw all the locomotives that may have not run properly or run great. You saw my layout, well, that was it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Peace. Thank you guys for 500 subscribers.